This week at WWDC, Apple just unveiled their latest generation of iPhone software, iOS 14. It comes with a bunch of new tweaks, and I actually included a video this week of everything that's changing and what you can expect. I just got my hands on the brand new developer build of iOS 14. I'm going to take you through a complete walkthrough and give you my thoughts on some of the things that I liked and some of the things that I didn't. Let's get into it. Basically, the new update covers a lot of different tweaks that make it a lot more similar to Android. So one of the first things that people are going to notice immediately when they get into this new software is the brand new widgets. And now they can be accessed by swiping over to the left like you did in previous generations, but now you can actually pin them onto your home screen on any page. So I mean, this is huge, and as somebody who's been using Apple Watch for a while, it's nice to get these sort of at-a-glance views like I have with Apple Watch directly on my home screen. You can access them as easy as just tapping and holding on your home screen, and there's a brand new plus button that pops up on the left, and from there you can select all of your widgets. Apple's unveiled a bunch of new widgets, and they go from 2x2 to 2x4 to even 4x4 configurations where they take up a majority of your home screen. They have all of their native apps coming with their own widgets, and as well they've defined a new thing called Smart Stack, and that essentially groups together a bunch of different widgets, and they'll automatically rotate based on the correct time of day, and that's Siri suggestions just deciding when they would be best to be viewed at a glance. And it goes further than that, so even if you don't want to use their standard collection of widgets, you're able to configure your own as well. You can simply just add a bunch of widgets to your home screen, you can press and hold. From there, you can edit the stack to reorder them, and you can even set a smart rotation so that it automatically shows you the correct one at the correct time like it does with the Smart Stack. It's just your own custom version of that. Another new update that's coming is the brand new app library. So once you go through all of your home screens, if you continue to swipe to the right, you're going to be in this new view of app library. In App Library, you have a collection of all of the apps you have installed, and they're automatically configured into the right categories such as social, productivity, creative, and entertainment. You're also going to have on the top left suggestions that they think that you might want to access, as well as recently added, which just configures all of your recent apps. If you're not seeing everything that you want to see in the App Library configuration, you can swipe down and you'll pull into the entire alphabetical list of all of your apps that are installed. I think they've done a really good job at sort of redefining what your entire app grid should look like versus the Android equivalent. One thing I don't like about this configuration is you can't customize it whatsoever. It automatically groups all of your apps and you can't change the groupings. And it's not to say that that won't come in future iterations. Again, this is the first beta build, and we do see a lot of updates between now and when the actual public release happens in September. So it'd be nice to see some flexibility in terms of what we can actually customize. Apple's gone even further with the home screens, giving you more customization. Now that we have the app library to access all of our apps, we can choose what we actually see on our home screens. So we can individually remove apps from the home screen one by one, or you can remove entire pages of home screens. Pressing and holding on an app, you can just hit remove app and you'll have the option to delete it permanently or just add it to the library, which essentially hides it from view. The less pages you have, obviously the faster it is to get to the app library. So next we have messages, and there's been a bunch of new updates to this, primarily in group chats, but also a couple of UI tweaks that we see. So when you're in the Messages app, you'll see all of your conversations as usual, but you can actually pin these. And when you do, it doesn't just pin them to the top of the messages, it actually creates these bubbles that you can view at a glance. And for individual chats, it's just going to pull up the picture of your contact, and for groups, it's going to show a cluster of bubbles. And those bubbles will get bigger depending on the last person who spoke in that conversation. You're also going to notice that when people are typing, you actually see that popping up in the Messages app, so you won't have to go into a conversation to know when someone's typing. A couple of other updates you'll notice, especially when in group chats, you're going to be able to reply to specific messages, and then you're going to be able to collapse that thread so that you don't see all of the replies if you just want a condensed view of the conversation. And another thing you'll be able to do with groups is you'll be able to mention specific people, and they'll be notified based on that mention. You can set groups to hide alerts so that you don't actually receive notifications every time someone messages, in which case you're only notified when someone specifically mentions you. Another great part about the system is that they've really rethought the idea of notifications completely taking over your screen. So that means you're going to notice that when you get calls, it's no longer going to dismiss everything that you have and just drop it. It's going to come up just like a regular banner notification in the top of your screen where you can accept or decline the call. And much like that, Siri also functions in a very similar way. Instead of taking over your entire screen, we have a new Siri graphic that shows up at the bottom of your screen, and it's much less intrusive. And over my time testing this, I've actually really enjoyed it. Hey Siri, what time is it? Next, we've got picture-in-picture. So once you install iOS 14, by default this is turned on, where if you're in the middle of an app and you're watching a video, if you go back to the home screen or swipe into another app, it'll immediately take that video in picture-in-picture so you can continue watching while doing other things. And this also extends to other videos such as FaceTime calls. Along with iOS 14, CarPlay is also getting a couple of different updates, including a brand new wallpaper and a bunch of new apps including parking, EV charging, and mobile food ordering as well on the go. I'll cover that in a separate video. Another feature unveiled at WWDC was brand new app clips, which are just temporary smaller versions of apps that deliver specific functions. Say if you wanted to order a coffee with Starbucks without actually downloading the app, you'd be able to have a clip that temporarily installs a very small portion of the app and then would dismiss as soon as you're done ordering. I'll cover a little bit more on that once they do become more widely available. Another new update that's exclusively coming to the XS and XS Max is a revised camera app. So this new app essentially follows the exact same layout as iPhone 11 already had in iOS 13. So for iPhone 11 users, you're really not going to notice any difference here, but it's going to be brand new to everyone with an earlier generation. With this, you're going to get a faster way to take photos. So you're just going to be able to press and hold on the camera button to immediately start recording video, and you can just swipe up so that it locks it in place and continues recording. You're also going to notice a brand new indicator that comes up anytime that your camera or microphone is being accessed, and it kind of mimics the same way that a MacBook would have a light that comes on when you use the camera. It happens in the top right corner. You'll see a green or a red light, and if you swipe down to Control Center, you're going to be able to see exactly what that means. Another new feature you'll experience with iOS 14 is sleep tracking. This happens through the Health app on the Apple Watch or the iPhone. It doesn't go as detailed as a lot of other sleep tracking apps that we use with, say, Fitbit, where you get to see your different levels of sleep and how deep you actually are sleeping. Instead, what Apple shows is how long you've been in bed and how long you're actually asleep for, and they do that by monitoring your heart rate while you sleep. It really doesn't go much more detailed than sleeping and not sleeping, but I think the general consumer is actually going to enjoy this feature and just the general awareness that it brings. It's not a revolutionary feature by any means, but it is kind of a nice peace of mind. So Apple Music's also been updated in a couple of different ways. The music player now shows a more colorful background, pulling the colors from the album art, much like it did in the lyrics mode before, but now it's brought to the default system as well. Other than that, you're going to notice that there's a brand new Listen Now mode, which goes over your top picks, stations for you, your recently played, and your made for you playlists. Additionally, the Universal Search tab shows you more now. So rather than just the search bar that was there before, now you're going to get to browse categories and different genres, much like how Spotify has implemented it. Apple also unveiled a brand new Translate app taking on Google Translate. It's installed by default on iOS 14, so you can expect that to be added to your home screen. Generally speaking, it works pretty much the same as Google Translate and what you would expect. You're able to type or you're able to use voice commands to say something in your native language. It'll auto-detect the language, and then you can tell it what you want to translate to. You can also save languages offline so that you can use it when you're not connected to data. Aside from that, Apple has added a bunch of new settings and customizations that you can access from your phone. The first one that I think a lot of people are going to find really interesting is this new tap back feature. So in settings, you're going to be able to configure 2 or 3 taps on the back of your iPhone, and you'll immediately be able to access quick shortcuts to specific apps or specific actions. This doesn't require a new phone. In fact, it's going to work on pretty much anything that has iOS 14 right now. And in my testing, it actually works pretty well. You simply just tap your phone and it'll do the action that you have set immediately. What I've noticed in testing on Beta 1 is essentially that it takes a little bit of time, probably a couple seconds lag from the time that you tap to when it actually does the action. So you can expect a little bit of a delay. And additionally, one thing that I found is that whatever action I had set to 2 taps was accidentally happening pretty frequently. If, say, I was in a car or I just set my phone on a table, it would mistake that for 2 taps to the back of the phone and it would start that action. So because of that, I currently only have 1 action set to my triple tap, which is Spotlight, so it brings up search no matter what app I'm in. Another welcome customization is the ability to change your default. So that means if you don't want to use Safari and you want to use a new default browser, you can change it to things like Chrome. Or likewise, if you want to use a different mail app than Mail like Spark or Gmail or Outlook, you can also set that as well. Now, it's not available in the beta right now to show you, but it will be available in future iterations. Now, Apple confirmed that these third-party browsers are going to need to use Apple's WebKit as their underlying browser engine, so the main differences for Safari will really be the interface and the syncing options. Now, the big question a lot of people have is on the compatibility of iOS 14. It seems like every time Apple does a new iOS update, they leave a lot of devices behind. So a lot of people are going to be really excited to know that iOS 14 actually works on everything that iOS 13 worked on. So that dates back to everything from iPhone 6s up to iPhone 11 and 12. Now, one of the biggest concerns that people notice with these betas is that they have a lot of bugs. When I first installed the iOS 13 beta when it came out last year, I actually wasn't able to make calls for quite a long time. When I installed iOS 14, I was really expecting it to be kind of a bad experience and kind of buggy, but I'm actually pleasantly surprised to say I haven't really noticed any bugs. Opening my apps, it seems like they all pretty much work under the new system, so it doesn't seem to require a lot of extensive code changes to get it up and running. This is the first time historically that I've ever noticed a beta gone so smoothly, and even in terms of battery life, I haven't noticed any issues. Okay, so that's everything for my walkthrough on iOS 14. If there's anything else that you guys want to see, let me know in the comments and I can do another video on that. I'll be releasing more tips as I find out more and more about the system itself. As always, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.